Hey guys, welcome back to Time Bomb channel. Hope of course you're all doing well, and up for review for you today we've got the Black Bay 58 homage-esque creation, of course, by Pagani Design. Pagani are having a lot of success at the moment. I mean, their watches are selling very well, both on AliExpress and then used on eBay. It seems that their work at recreating these homage variants is working very well for them. They're continually coming up with new models. Added to that, the AliExpress sales, I think, make these watches again super affordable. With the vouchers that I had and the last sale, which I think was just the end of March, this one cost me £75, and that's including postage. It arrived here in the UK within about 10 days. All right, let me just unbox while I'm banging on here. So these Black Bay styles then this particular model, comes in 4 colorways. So I think pretty easy to pick your color preference. And I went with this black version. I felt perhaps it was a little bit had a little bit more vintage appeal than some of the other ones. Let me just zoom the camera in here and then we can kick off with some specs. All right, so where were we? So yeah, let's kick off with those specs. So I'll give you a quick 360 of the watch just while I'm doing that. So basically what we're looking at then is 42 mils across. It's 14.5 mils in depth. So it's quite a bit bigger, I think, than the 39 by 12 mil that you'll actually find on the genuine Tudor Black Bay. So probably a little bit closer in size to the Heritage model. It then sits on a good sized 22 mil lugs, I think necessary for the size of the head. But it is not shy though at 50 mils in lug to lug. The water resist on here is 100 meters. And the weight of the watch is great for me, but I think it might put some people off. I weighed this on the full unsized bracelet, and it's 179 grams. Now clearly that may drop a few as you then remove a few links, and I think you probably will need to remove quite a few links because it's a very generous bracelet. But the weight, I think the disadvantage of the weight is that the watch is not balanced in that sense, so that the bracelet is quite light in comparison. So most of the weight is there within that head, meaning personally I wouldn't be overly tempted to put it on the NATO that they'd kindly sent with a watch. On a leather, yes, I think it would balance out adequately, and I think it would certainly prevent that top wobble. Let me just throw it on wrist to give you a quick shot while we proceed. Rocking the Pingo today, wearing that one quite a lot recently. But as you can see, I can get my hand all the way through here, so it's a very generous bracelet that they send it to you on. On wrist, I think it looks very good. It sits well. As I say, I don't imagine if you've got a 6-inch wrist, I think then those 50 mil lugs are going to be oversized for you, so probably not recommended. But anyone with a 6.5 to 7.5 to an 8, I think you're going to be absolutely fine. Let me just center myself back up again. All right, where should we head next? Okay, on to the bezel. So the bezel, I think, is a very well cut coin edge. I think was really fitting with the style of the watch. If they'd gone for something which was like a toothy, tooly knurling, I think it would have been out of place on here. The bezel is a 60 click, unlike the Lax Denton that we reviewed the other day. And listen to this. And bezel action sounds absolutely perfect. Full marks to them there for that. However, they've let themselves down, and they've let themselves down, as you'll see here, because it really does move an awful lot. It's not as tight as I really think it should be, and as a consequence, whilst you can line it up, as the alignment itself is actually very good, it just shifts around. It really does. There's a whole position's worth of movement there. Little bit frustrating. However, the upside is that the matte black that they've chosen on this aluminum insert, I think, is great. It's also a brilliant match, I think, for the markings here, which on the bezel, which are this bronzy colour, and they do look excellent. The other downside, I think, on here is that the loom pip I think it's slightly misplaced. I mean, it dwarfs that red triangle at the top there and makes it almost invisible. Kind of think, well, put one there or the other. Talking about the case, then, that as I say, it's a very ample slice of steel. It's got this really nice polished, just a very fine shoulder. So again, so my personal preference, okay, you've got brush sides here, meaning that, you know, it's not a fingerprint magnet, but at the same time, you've got that just that little polished edge there, meaning that you do get a nice little action of light reaction across it. I'll pop up some sunshine shots here, try to say that word again, so you can see how good it actually does look in the light. Now, Jody over on Just One More Watch had his version of this one in for review the other week, and he mentioned the brushing quality on the case, and I was sitting there thinking, mine is in the post, and I was crossing my fingers and my toes thinking that the brushing quality might just have been on the watch that he'd received, but no, unfortunately mine is also the same. I'm not sure if this this lens will pick this up, so I'll pop up a close-up shot here. But the finishing on the edges here is a little bit basic. It's certainly not evident to the touch, but if you do get up close and personal with it, you can see that it's not brilliant. All right, let's jump onto the dial. Sorry, get a lot of reflection from the light. There we go. That's probably a bit better. Right. So on the dial, then we've got this really sort of, you know, very, very nicely done waffly surface. It really does, I think, add a lot of light movement and adds some depth to that dial. Again, top marks there. The date wheel on the date wheel on the calendar there, sorry, is not color matched. Personally, I think it stands out just a little bit too much. I think it brings another color to the dial, which I think maybe, I mean, if you imagine that as a black wheel with the white digits, I think it would look a lot better. Now, onto my biggest disappointment of the watch, and that is the colour of the hands. It seems very odd to me, as they are some sort of salmony pink, which really doesn't fit at all with the colour on the colour of the hour markers and then the bezel gradings. If they had made the hands, you know, like the same bronze of the bezel markings, or alternatively, you know, like just a pure silver or something like this, I think it really would have looked then the Mutt's nuts. The other colourways, though, I think the hands work much better, specifically on the blue, as you can see here. On the dial as well, then you've got those 4 lines of script, and of course with reference to the Seiko automatic down at 6 o'clock with the Japan movement. And as you can see, of course, through the case back, we've then got the NH35 on the inside, a truly trusty ticker, which is not going to give you any issues. Note, though, that some people have claimed that these are actually clones of the NH35 as opposed to the genuine Seikos. I've certainly not had the opportunity to check that out for myself. The loom is solid, very impressed. It seems very, very well coated. It's certainly not too grainy. And it shines nicely. I've seen some of these though that also then have a mixed colour between the blue and the green, but I'm pretty sure that's evident. It might be evident just on the red version. I'm not 100% sure. Finishing on the dial, then we've got a domed sapphire on the top here. No AR coating, but certainly not for this price. But as you can see, you get some wonderful, wonderful distortion on that outer edge. Again, something that just in the day or two that I've had this, I've been looking at that thinking, a really, really, really nice touch. It distorts the light beautifully. Again, top marks there. Last feature, I think, would be the sign crown over on the side. And as you can see, I'll just unscrew it. You can see a little bit more. You have this red ring liner just on the inside of the crown. It's a little bit odd. Because if you look at the newer versions on Ali, they've actually removed this red liner already. And I also think it's odd because my understanding of that kind of an indication is that it's there to remind you that you haven't screwed the crown back in fully. Maybe again that's why they've pulled it on the newer versions. The bracelet, it looks good to me. I apologise though, as I've already had an offer to buy this, so I've left it in the plastics. I kind of want to leave that special moment to the new owner to get it undressed. It's a 5-link composition, so basically, yeah, so 1, 2, 3, and then those outers there are separate. Those rivets are separate pieces. The satiny brush finish actually looks a little bit better on the bracelet than it does on the case sides. The ends at the top here as well, if you can see it quite effectively there, the end is either what you would call a female or inverted, in that the outer 2 links are the ones that are fixed and the central one is loose, meaning as it sits on the side of your wrist, it protrudes a lot less. The bracelet, as I mentioned, then is at 22, but it actually tapers down then all the way down to a 19 here, and then your clasp is 20 mils. Now the clasp, again apologies because it's not undressed, it does look very, very good. You've got a double release here, milled on the inside. Again, it seems very nice. You've also then got your micro adjusts just here, but the aspect that stands out to me as the best part of the clasp is actually that inner section just here. It's very, very smooth and very, very curved, and it just sort of screams out, you know, extreme comfort on wrist as a consequence. An oddity on this one is that, sorry, where's it gone? Yes, just here. You've also then got a diver's extension. Sorry, it's on the apologies on the other side. And again, possibly a little bit of a redundant feature because I don't see many owners of this watch doing back rolls off the back of boats in a wetsuit. So probably, yeah, kind of a little unnecessary. Anyway, in conclusion, guys, I've been talking a lot about this watch. I think there's quite a lot to say about it. Visually, I think this watch works very, very well. You look at it here and it's damned pretty. Credit where it's due for the price. They've made a very, very classy watch. What would I change? Well, firstly, I would remove the exhibition case back. It would make then, you know, for the watch to sit much flusher on wrist. And as well, as I mentioned before, you know, this is a real slab of steel, so a few mils off the bottom would probably make this watch more of an all-rounder. Secondly, sort the colour palette out. Get the bronze everywhere. I think that would make a radical difference to the visual impact of the dial. Clearly the blue dial version, though, again, would be very different if that's what you're going to choose. The rough brushing on the case I can live with. It certainly wouldn't bother me, but I can't live with that salmon pink on the hands. I think it just kills it a little bit. Alright guys, so fresh off the AliExpress production line, I hope this is useful to you if you're thinking about picking up one of these watches, and I certainly do look forward to your comments down below as always. Just give you a quick, again, last 360 of this watch before we log off, and until next time, of course, this is your host, the Bombardier, signing off. Cheers guys.